Hi guys, welcome to day 3 in this challenge. Will I read 25 books in 31 days? Or how many books can I read to the end of the year? Or my mission to drive myself insane. But I did in fact manage to read a book today. Well done, mate. Round of applause. The book that I finished on day 3 is The Missing Maid, and I really enjoyed this book. Now, it's not a book that's going to stay with me by any means, but I had a really fun time with it, and I'll definitely continue reading this series, is what I'll take from it. Depending on how the rest of the series goes, depends on how far I'll keep following, but so far a good time. So basically, this is a historical mystery series set in 1932 with this daughter of a baroness or some sort of child of the gentry or whatever you call them, but because she's a daughter and there's many sons and there's many different lineage, she's never going to earn a title, so she pretty much has a lot of free reign. So she decides she wants to work, she wants to be a working girly, so she works at this bank. But something happens at this bank and she gets demoted to work in the post room of the bank. And when she's there, she gets assigned opening all of the letters to Sherlock Holmes. And you're wondering, well, why are the letters to Sherlock Holmes? Because the bank has taken over some buildings on Baker Street, including 221B. So they get letters addressed to Sherlock Holmes. So the bank and her's decision is to respond as if Sherlock Holmes is real and alive. She names herself as his assistant. So then she writes back to all of the people who have written to Sherlock Holmes until she stumbles across one letter that piques her interest. And she decides, well, what happens if I just take a little look-see? So this book is set in the 1930s, 1932 specifically, I believe. And I really do enjoy a historical mystery. I don't know, it's my jam. And not only do I like historical mysteries, I like modern historical mysteries, right? As in the 1900s. That time period does work for me. I do enjoy historical mystery. I also enjoy British cozy crime. And thirdly, what else do I enjoy? I also love Sherlock Holmes. Context for my review of this book is I love a Sherlockian mystery. Okay, I love it. 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 When I reflect, I've always got some kind of Sherlockian thing going. Like, usually I'm watching TV programs that have like a Sherlockian or a Holmesian type of character, but I'm currently not watching anything. So I think maybe this book filled that void for me. And I think I tend to kind of either I'm reading something related to Sherlock Holmes or I'm watching something related to Sherlock Holmes. So this book came to me at the right time, at the right place, and falls into many of my loves. However, it's not without its faults. One of the faults is that the mystery isn't that strong. Like, it's quite easy to solve. I personally don't have an issue with that. As someone who's a romance reader, is a historical reader, I am often okay with knowing how something ends. And I'm sorry, but I don't know about you, but with mystery books, I expect the mystery to be solved, especially a cozy crime. Like, the whole point of a cozy crime book is like, yeah, it's gonna get solved, everything is gonna be all right. So I don't need to be wowed and blown over by a mystery, which is where I think this book's fault comes into, because you are going to attract people who like Sherlock Holmes, and the whole idea of Sherlock Holmes is that these are going to be hard cases to solve, cases that we can't solve. So I think that that's the problem in this book. But I think it's okay for me though, because she doesn't pretend to be a Sherlockian character. She herself knows that she's fallible and she doesn't have the intellect or crime solving abilities of Sherlock Holmes. She's just a woman trying to do her best, and I appreciate that. Another thing to point out is I've been watching some videos at the moment, right? There's this creator called Skip Intro. I'm absolutely loving. I have just been watching every single video that they've put out about propaganda, right? I've been watching all of their propaganda series, and it makes me question just interrogate the media that I read in terms of, is it propaganda? He hasn't really spoken about amateur sleuths so far from what I've seen. Amateur sleuths, there's a thin line, okay? Because some amateur sleuths are amateur sleuths because they are inherently saying the police are fallible. There's problems within the police. The police are incompetent. But then there's another line in amateur sleuths where it's like, oh, there's some bad eggs, but there's also some good eggs. And I just need to help out the bad egg. Or the bad eggs are just ruining the good eggs. And I've got someone on the inside who's a good egg. I say love to say, then I read this mystery. Where does this mystery fall on the line? In this line, she's not sympathetic to a good egg in the police. She's sympathetic to a good egg as a lawyer. And that's what I'll say. Okay, I won't spoil anymore. But I do think it's interesting to just like have a look at representation in books, right? Reading is not apolitical, as they say. Talking about not apolitical, this book, obviously she's the daughter of the gentry. I do kind of I'm not so very sympathetic to lords and ladies in my fiction, right? There's so many books that talk about lords and ladies, and it's tiring and tiresome. I understand why, because with a whole bunch of wealth, the characters have the freedom to do what they want. For example, because she basically wants for nothing in this life, it doesn't matter that she can go off gallivanting places, that she can do whatever she wants, because she's set for life. Not only that, she's got connections in the right places. And you know what, I actually think it's more interesting to read about someone who doesn't have all of that, and has to really use their intellect, as it were, as an amateur sleuth, and figure it out and find their way and get the information that they need without just calling up a high society lady, you know. And it just doesn't align with my politics. I do often vacillate between the positions of, do the books that I read need to identify with my social politics, my politics in life, right? The small p. Like, do my books have to be everything that I want to see in the world? And I think no, but I think it's good for me to note when they aren't, you know, not just to mindlessly take it in. I think it's good to interrogate the politics of the books that I'm reading. So now let's talk about some of the positives, right? The positives was, this was propulsive. As I said, I managed to finish this book today, and realistically, considering that I want to read a book a day, I could have read a much shorter book, right, and blasted through it. But because this book was so intriguing, I blasted through it anyways. It went by so fast. I was like, yes, this is a great time. I played the audiobook and I was engaged the whole time. And I think that's really interesting, because it wasn't the mystery necessarily that was keeping me engaged. Because as I said, the mystery, I kind of knew where it was going the whole time. Also, another thing, that this is a historical that uses elements of real life in it, just to know. I like that. I like that, and picking up on real life history that is sprinkled in my modern historical books, but depends on whether you like that or not. Is there anything else to say? Because I've been chatting for a while. The main character, I thought the main character was easy to get along with, like inoffensive for the most part, good vibes, and she's a woman in a certain age, and so there's a bit of a feminist element to this, where she's like, she's gonna do it, she's gonna be an amateur sleuth. She is very, you know, she's the main character of this novel. I think a lot of people will enjoy that. There's a bit of lessons in chemistry in her, but she's not as hardy. She's a lot more soft and you know, she's just a girl, you know. I think those are the main things that I want to remark upon, really. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. Would recommend. It was available. The reason why I got it was because it was available on xigxag for $3.99. Xigxag is an audiobook company, right? And they also have a xigxag books where you can read and listen along, but they are predominantly an audiobook company. But they are a B corporation, and they have some really ethical payment schemes, as in there's no subscription. They don't try and trap or trick you into paying them more than you want to pay. You pay per book, but how much you pay per book is the same price you would pay on Amazon, on Audible. It's $7.99 for a book. And then they've got a whole payment scheme where the more books you buy, the less it costs, and it keeps coming down. And obviously they have a selection of books every month. That's $3.99. Yes, this is an ad for xigxag. No, they're not paying me. Yes, this is all of my own volition. I mean, I'm going to tell you about this good, amazing Audible app, okay? Because it is amazing. It is fantastic. But let's just move on to the advent calendars now. Okay, so advent calendar number 1. We're going to start with the least exciting. Okay, here's day 3. Oh, I said let's start the least exciting. But we only have one to open today because of events of yesterday. Go watch yesterday to figure out why. Here we go. Here's the candle. It is Moonlit Cabin. Doesn't smell great. It's a terrible cheapy candle. Let me have a look to see what they're made out of. I don't even know what they're made out of. Anyway, that's that. Cheers. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.